A little over a year ago, the Dallas Cowboys made a very controversial draft selection, going with Tyler Smith, who many did not think would be drafted as high as he was. He was 46th on the consensus big board, and the highest a mock draft had him was 36, and yet the Cowboys selected him 24th overall. Now, people didn't pay attention to that too long because the Patriots would eventually draft Cole Strange in the first round, and so that kind of took some heat off of Dallas. But it actually, as it turned out, ended up looking really good for the Cowboys. If you look at his PFF grades, he had a very good season. I mean, the run blocking was better than the pass blocking, but the overall offense was 73.3. That's a very good grade, let alone, sure, for a rookie, but just in general, that's a good grade and one that you're pretty happy with. If your tackle puts in that kind of grade consistently, you feel pretty good about it. So the fact that he did that year one makes you believe maybe there's even a higher ceiling potentially for Tyler Smith. But even if there isn't, again, he was PFF's 25th highest graded tackle last year. That's very good. You'll take that. Those guys typically make double-digit millions of dollars, and closer to 20 than 10. So definitely great. And so what happened with Tyler Smith? I mean, you look at his Pro Football Focus page. This is from coming out of college. You see, looking at this, it's almost a surprise that he fell in the draft the way he did. I mean, this was a very good season, a 92.3 grade, granted at Tulsa, but still, that's a very good grade. So the analytics were spectacular. Again, better run blocker than pass blocker, which turned out to be true. But we also see how he had a pretty sizable jump from 2019 to 2020 and from 2020 to 2021. So he was continuing to improve as a player as he was getting more playing time, because again, the other thing to note there is the snap count. Only 200 snaps in 2019, but 667 in 2020, and then over 900 in 2021. So as he got more playing time, he got better, and he's continued to get better here at the NFL level. Like, this play is a good one. He's going to be going up one-on-one against James Bradberry. So you might be saying, what? This seems like it should be a pretty easy block. Yeah, I mean, if you can get in position, it should be a pretty easy block. But again, going up against a fast corner, it's not always so easy to get yourself in position. You have to move quickly to get in position. Yes, if you get the hand placement you want against James Bradberry, you should win. But, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. But watch this play begin and watch how he does get up to that second level very quickly. So now he is in the, he has the hand placement that he wants for James Bradberry. But is he going to be able to finish off this block? Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. Watch how he shoves Bradberry just off the screen. They're just off the screen now. That's how that works. So yeah, let's move on to the next play then. Let's go over here where this will once again be a one-on-one block, this time against a defensive lineman. Okay, listen, seeing an offensive lineman block a corner is always fun, but the reality is that's not something they do too frequently. There are other things you have to do. This play is going to be a handoff to the, it's going to be basically straight up the middle. I guess technically it's going to be a handoff to the offense's right, which is towards the left of the screen, but basically just a run up the middle. But for Smith, again, he's trying to get the edge rusher as far away from the play as possible. That's his goal here. So it's really going to be that initial first burst that he's going to have to make sure he pulls off, and that's really where he thrives, I would say. Watch as this play begins, and you see him be able to get that initial shove right there to where, yeah, he's in a good spot now. Josh Sweat is eventually going to come over and, get past him, but at that point it was too late because of that initial first push by Smith. And that's kind of what Smith does, I think, so exceptionally well, is he beats guys at the line. He wins immediately, and as long as you can do that, you're typically going to be in a pretty good spot, I would say. This play is another good example of what he can do well, where it's going to be a one-on-one block once again. Okay, that's the way this works. And he's going up against Brandon Graham of the Philadelphia Eagles, who's a very good edge rusher still at this point in his career. He was Pro Football Focus's 5th highest graded edge rusher last year. So yeah, getting a bit up there. He's 35, but he's still as good as it gets, really. And so, one area that you would think right off the bat Graham could have success with would be hand placement in this situation. Going up against a rookie player who maybe hasn't played against too many guys quite like Brandon Graham, seeing, him be able to kind of do what he can do to get past him, you expect Graham to be able to win more consistently than lose. However, when his play begins, you're really going to see, again, it's that left hand that's always so important for a tackle, for the left tackle. For the right tackle, it's the right hand, left tackle, it's the left hand. And he's able to get that very far over to Graham's right side of his body, and because of that, Graham doesn't really have anywhere he can go. As you see, Smith is able to hold off that block, and Graham was not able to generate a pressure there because of what Smith was able to do. So again, it's the hand placement and winning quickly that I think really is why he excels, you know? It's interesting because I went back and just looked up, what people liked about him and what they didn't like about him. And a lot of what they didn't love about him, a lot of his knocks were they felt he was raw. They felt it was a technique issue. So, I do always feel like we always talk so much about drafting and how important drafting is, but there's also an element of player development that we just don't talk about. Sometimes it's not necessarily just drafting, but it's also figuring out what players have, the weaknesses they have, and how to fix them. And not just saying, oh, if you have any weakness, I'll be able to fix it, but legitimately knowing what weaknesses you can fix and what weaknesses you can't, and when you find weaknesses you can fix, being able to fix them. But there's also just stuff like this too, where it's not like he's just a technician who's only winning due to his hands. So on this play, going up one-on-one against Contavious Street, that's who he's going up against. Okay, listen, not exactly the household name that Brandon Graham is, but anyone can have a good pass rush rep in any given moment. These are the best players in the world at the end of the day, and Street's going to do a good job at the beginning of this play, and I think part of it might be Smith might be a little bit surprised that Hassan Reddick, who's on that side of the field, is going to drop back into coverage, because watch what happens. Look, pretty quickly on, right now, Smith does not have his hands even on Street. He is not in a good situation whatsoever, and you'd think this is about to be a pressure for sure here, and again, I think Smith might have just gotten a bit surprised, which, hey, you're a rookie. It's going to happen. But here's what I really like about Smith. Watch what he's going to do here. Watch him quickly get the hands back on and be able to be strong enough to not allow Street to go over and hit Prescott, even as Prescott was doing spin moves back there. He was, going around guys trying to tackle him. Smith was able to hold his own in that play. So there's just a lot that Smith does really well. And to be honest, I feel like he could still get better. There's still room for improvement with Tyler Smith. So I think some people could learn the wrong idea from a selection like this. The, correct mindset to have isn't to sit here and say, oh, well, if people made fun of this selection and it worked out, then clearly no one knows what they're talking about and we should just trust the teams. Well, no. Again, typically when you do reach, it is a scenario where you tend to end up getting a worse player. That's typically how that works out. Usually reaching is not a good thing. Just ask the Las Vegas Raiders. However, there are times when maybe people are looking at negatives and thinking that they're actually, maybe you could realize that they're not as big of negatives as other people realize. Maybe there's a raw player, but maybe that player is raw because he doesn't have a ton of playing time and you actually know how to fix certain things. And if that's the case, then you should absolutely draft that player because there's someone who could be really good at the end of the day. At least that's how I view it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.